Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you from a beautiful New York, Long Island. It's a wonderful sunny day here, and we're very fortunate to have a remarkable person here, Mr. Mitchell Morrison from sunny California. I've had a privilege of knowing Mitch for almost 5 years now. Time flies incredibly fast, as we all can attest to, and in just one life, Mitch seems to have lived, dozens and dozens of very accomplished, very successful lives. He is an entrepreneur, businessman. He spent decades in financial services in different capacities. He's very intimately familiar with multitude of different lines of business. And currently he is a CEO of Eyeballs. He's also authored and published several very successful books. So Mr. Morrison, welcome to the channel.
Thank you, Gene. It's great to be here with you, especially the fact that you are one of the most patriotic men I've met along the way in my career, and I thank you for it, for being a great American. Thank you, Gene.
You're very kind, Mitch. And again, coming from you, it means the world to me, and I truly appreciate that comment. I do it indeed. Anyone who knows me longer than, a few minutes knows that, I come from Ukraine. That's where I grew up. And just coming from the environment where, again, you grew up in a communist country and seeing, again, the things that the communism has been bringing over, from imprisonments, to physical destruction of millions and millions of people, it definitely gives you a completely different understanding of the beauty and the greatness of the United States. And God bless America. Every day, I wake up with the same thought, and every night I go to sleep, the same thought crosses my mind, and I'm thanking God multiple times through the day of being a citizen, a happy and a very proud citizen of the United States of America. And I do appreciate, again, your comment, but more importantly, we'll speak about it later on in this interview, Mitch. We'll speak about your books and what you as a good citizen have been doing to support, the Constitution of the United States. So, but again, welcome to the channel. I'm truly excited. I know you have super busy schedule as usually, flying between the West Coast, the East Coast, and going on overseas trips as part of your business. And again, I'm glad and happy to have you here. So please, why don't you share with the audience, some highlights of how you got into business and the things that you have done, and then we'll just take it from there.
Well, I got into the business because I was attracted to the moving parts of financial services that seemed very fascinating to me, because it touches so many people's lives, whether you're someone who works with the financial services or in the financial services, or you're just a person from a hometown, small town, big city, doesn't matter, because finances in America is very important. I was, when I graduated from college, I went into the FBI. I felt that the FBI was my way of kind of serving the country. I did not go to Vietnam. It was pretty much winding down when I would have been drafted or at least called. So I decided to go into the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And I learned a lot about certain things, and wanted to do something for me, although my career was pretty exciting in the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because as you know, I work for counterintelligence, and I was
I do indeed. Yeah, you shared.
And I was following a lot of your Ukrainians and Russians and
folks from Eastern Europe. Yeah, the former Soviet Union.
Yeah,
it's fascinating how years and decades later our paths would cross here in the United States.
But see, the friendliest were the Ukrainians and the meanest were the East Germans. So the East Germans weren't too.
Aber natürlich, mein lieber Freund. I completely agree with that.
Anyway, so yes, and I went to work for a major firm, E.F. Hutton, and learned about.
That's a legendary name. I mean, anyone who knows anything about the business, and I've been in business for 24 years now, and actually one of my trainers, coaches, and mentors at Prudential Securities. That's why he got started. E.F. Hutton, and obviously it was a legendary, institution that produced many outstanding financial advisors and people involved in the financial services over years and decades. Yeah.
Yes, it was very innovative. And in fact, Hutton really invented the outside money management platform.
Yeah.
So prior to that, you were, as an advisor, trying to juggle your career in getting new clients and prospecting and learning about certain investments. And at the same time, you now have to be the money manager. Well, Hutton suggests put professional institutional money managers inside of the ability for financial advisors to offer those professionals who were managing, billions of dollars at the time for the public. So it was a great thing that Hutton started, and of course everyone followed suit. When I was I remember, talking to investors, and they'd say, "Well, what should I buy?" And I'd say, "Well, I don't know. I think you should buy this bond or this stock or whatever." Well, I'm getting 18.5% in my money market. Can you beat that?
Well,
And that's how high it was.
I think, Mitch, we can point out to the audience, again, our audience is very intelligent audience, but, putting in perspective, 25, 30, 35 years back, I mean, the interest rates were in the double digits. So, when somebody was bragging about getting, 14, 15%, coupon on a fixed income investment, being the bond, corporate bond or the junk bond, then obviously viewed in perspective of the inflation the country has been having at that time, it was not such a spectacular return, right? We can all agree on that.
Right. And I think our challenge, is to put the investor in front of the curve, not behind the curve. So, at some point in time, interest rates will go back up. We will have to deal with that, and we'll have to find investments that outperform, those kinds of situations. So it's challenging times, but one of the things I do want to say about today and the COVID situation is, money never sleeps. Transactions are still going on. Businesses are still making money. It's not like a standstill out there in the financial services arena. So it's a challenge because of not being able to meet face to face with clients as much or at all in some cases, but it doesn't mean that we can't be very diligent in our communications, in our transparency, and our ability to reach out to our clients.
Right. I find it fascinating, Mitch, and again, I've known you for, a few years by now, that you are so intimately familiar with multitude of different industries. I would like you to talk to the audience about different lines of industries that you've been able to learn about and work within, being it real estate or whatever, just talk along those lines, please, and share your experience and the knowledge on those type of subjects.
Okay, well, let's start with home building. Home building is hitting records right now. And that one of the reasons why is because the surveys are out there that just with the normal growth of our population and people moving out of their folks' homes, we'll be short about 3.5 million housing units by 2033. 3.5 million need to get built.
Those are very compelling numbers, yeah.
That's a very high number. Now, a lot of those will be apartments, multifamily, but still, so home building is something that's going to, I think, continue. I mean, you can talk about all kinds of situations with COVID, but, we need to live somewhere. We need to have.
There is no doubt. Yeah, there is no doubt.
Basic things. Now, the other area is energy. And, if you look at the oil and gas business and you hear from many people, well, we're going to go to green energy and so on and so forth. That might be all true, but right now, these drillers, operators, whatever, are willing to work for a third and sometimes one half of what they were charging just, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
And the reason for that, Mitch?
Well, the reason for that is prices have gone down to the point where you would think it would be the opposite. Because they're making less money at the wellhead, they would have to raise their operating price.
Just to stay in business, yeah.
But it doesn't work that way. They'd rather be able to get some income and put some food on the table and work for cheaper just to stay in business. So that's really what's happening at the wellhead, or what we call, the operating level of the oil and gas business. Now, there were a lot of wildcatters, a lot of independent people. Most of those people have left the risky plays, the plays that cost more money. It's about $65 a barrel to really manufacture what they call shale oil. Shale oil is what's up in the Bakken, in Montana, in North Dakota, parts of South Dakota, Colorado, those fields up there. So you're not going to see those kind of operators. You're going to see people going back to Texas, and some of the people going in the Marcellus. But, if for some reason they end fracking, all bets are off. I can tell you that fracking is so commonplace right now. If you were to ban fracking permanently in the United States, you'd see $70, $80 oil almost immediately.
It would be devastating for the economy, there is no doubt. So let's just hope and pray that we do keep that legislation in place, and that industry that allowed actually the United States, the first time, ever to go energy independent, will keep pursuing, and Americans can enjoy lower costs of gasoline and creation of, thousands, if not tens of thousands of new jobs along those lines.
Yes, and remember, fracking helps with natural gas production too, not just oil. So if you're producing more natural gas for electricity mainly, then basically you are cleaning up the environment. So the more natural gas you burn versus oil, you're cleaning up the environment.
It is such a great point, Mitch, and I do appreciate your making it, because some of the people may not be familiar with the fact that natural gas comes hand in hand with oil. So whenever somebody discovers some deposits of oil, then obviously natural gas is going to come along, and sometimes, or a lot of times actually, the deposits of natural gas would substantially exceed those of oil. So as you said, hey, it does promote the cleaner environment when we do have those developments, either through shale oil, fracking. So ultimately everybody benefits.
Yeah, and 30, 40 years ago, when we were not using as much natural gas, they were flaring off the natural gas, meaning they were burning it to get rid of it and just
wasting. Yeah.
Just wasted it. Yeah.
Some of my clients, of many years, that's the line of business they've been in, and they shared with me, exactly what has been going on. So it's a great point you're making. Besides, construction that you touched upon, oil and gas, what other industries would you say are of interest to you, where you've been expanding your own expertise? I know AI, is one of them, definitely fintech. As a matter of fact, I mentioned, I guess, at the introduction that you, Mitch, you're the CEO of the company, which provides just that. They provide a financial technology advice and expertise to the companies in the financial services. So please talk about that. Eyeballs.
Yes, we came up with an app for your smartphone where one of the issues we saw over the years, and they basically haven't changed this in 70 years,
Mm-hmm.
are the printed customer statements that come out either monthly if the account is active or quarterly. Some of the developments that happened were that now that the computer and even smartphones can take screenshots of statements, so that information has become more transparent. But if you're not plugged into a situation like that, you're waiting for your monthly statement and you're maybe talking to your advisor once a month or once every quarter or whatever, you can be a bit in the dark. So what we wanted to have was real time transparency between what their investments were doing. So we logged in LinkedIn to the custodians, and we're going to also link into what's called the aggregators, or some of the people who actually combine custodial accounts. And we're going to be able to allow people, well, it's already working, but you can talk to your phone and it'll answer you back verbally. So if you say, what's the balance in my individual retirement account? And you talk to your phone, it will say it is, $10,000 or $100,000 or whatever it is. And then you can even get a screenshot of it as well. If you ask it questions about buying investments, then that is, all those questions are deferred back to the financial advisor. So if you use the word acquire, should I buy, acquire, sell, get rid of, whatever term, the our device, and in kind of semi-artificial intelligence, will say, Eyeballs does not give financial advice. Please contact your financial advisor, Gene Penisenko. So it's been a big breakthrough. No one has come up with this technology before and developed it as far as we have. There are some companies, I had some discussions with Microsoft. And in fact, I had a sit down with the inventor of Watson, which is the foremost artificial intelligence entity in the world. They do artificial intelligence today for the United Nations. And Neil Sahota is his name. And he told me that he said that it's coming. Artificial intelligence will be here. And you'll be able to do a lot with it. You'll be able to get answers and so on and so forth. We're taking a little different approach. We want to keep the human element involved all the time, because we think that that's more important than turning this over to a pure AI situation.
Well, it's fascinating though, Mitch, how in your case with Eyeballs, you have been able to really offer an incredibly important, in my opinion, not just in my opinion, but I've been speaking with many people in the industry, an instrument where you're going to be able to facilitate lives of so many people involved in the process. And again, it's fascinating to see how over years and decades, from, the clients waiting for the physical mail-in statements to, getting the statements faxed to them, or lately through encrypted email delivered to them, if for some reason they have not received the statement on time, or they happen to be traveling, or the statement has been misplaced, by USPS, whatever the case may be. And especially anyone pretty much in the industry can attest to the fact that whenever it's a tax time, come the deadline of tax filing, the people, a lot of times they're looking for those statements to take to their CPAs and tax advisors, and the statements are not there. So by utilizing this kind of technology, I guess it will be so much more convenient for them and easier to access any kind of pertinent information that they need to present for, filing taxes, and just to get whatever kind of legal and tax advice whenever it's needed, without waiting for the physical statement to arrive in the mail.
The phone app looks like this.
Right.
See that?
Yes, I can see it very clearly. Yeah. Yeah.
And then where you get the talking part is where it says ask eyeballs. So you push on that, and then you can say, what is my net cash balance?
Yep.
Oop. What is my net cash balance?
What is my net cash balance? Your net cash balance is $12,354.
That's fascinating. Yeah. That's fascinating.
Well,
Contact your advisor and speak about potential, investment opportunities for that cash, which is generating next to zero as of today's rate.
right. So that's good for the advisor. He gets an opportunity, he or she gets an opportunity to discuss maybe a new venture, or it's just very comforting knowing, hey, this is where I'm at today, and I know right away, because this will be updated every 24 hours. So the clearing firms, the custodians, have the ability now to update this. And so it would be your statement being updated, like I said,
Right.
on every 24 hours.
It's definitely comforting to the clients, to the investors. A lot more people are on the move nowadays. Not always can they plug into, their PC or even laptops. So, being stuck in traffic, waiting at the airport, between the flights, it's easier and faster and so much more convenient to just pull it up on your phone, on your iPad, and log in and just get whatever information that you're looking for on the go. So definitely, I feel very good value to both people in the industry and investors and the clients, account holders.
Yes, there was a survey done a few years back, and then they used some empirical data to back it up. They said that the average investor spends more time planning a vacation than they do talking about their retirement investments. So that's, now you can do both. You can be on vacation and get your answers to your
And get
retirement.
into your retirement and non-retirement portfolio. So
You can be lying on the beach and talk to your phone. You don't have to take your computer down there, and you know where you're at. So we thought that was significant.
And I would say that going through the insanity that we as a country and the whole world pretty much has been going through over the last, 7-8 months now, meaning coronavirus, COVID-19, China virus, all of the above, with the lockdowns, the crime on the rise, unfortunately, in multitude of other places throughout the country. So a lot of people, they're just not traveling. I have some clients, they're not even coming to the city from the suburbs, because of the crime rates. And other issue, so I think that having those kind of instruments at their fingertips would just give them so much more comfort level, and it would be just an extremely convenient application to use on an ongoing basis. So true. So let's switch gears, Mitch. Again, the industry is going through a lot of transformation. It's very dynamic. And we're seeing, things which are happening economically, where, a lot of business owners have been impacted by this COVID-19. I personally have, a few clients who had to shut down their businesses after many years, sometimes after more than one generation in business. And obviously, what's your take? Fortunately, again, millions and millions of jobs that have been recreated due to the economic policy of Donald Trump. What, in your opinion, are the dynamics that we can expect going forward, at least in the next, few months?
Well, I think that once the cloud was invented, basically the information that you could receive as a consumer, a buyer, investor, whatever, is just magnanimous. So, anybody can get up in the cloud now and post something somewhere on social media or wherever, YouTube, and I think that that's good in some ways and bad in some ways, because there's no filter. The other thing that is kind of interesting about all this is our news media is not just telling us the news, what we need to know. Obviously, you can go to the weatherman and find out the weather. You can go to the sports and find out the sports. But a lot of the news has shifted to tell us how to think and what our attitude should be. And that shouldn't be the place of the national news, not the way that telling us the way that we should think, or telling us or giving us guilt, and these social dilemmas that are popping up. Racism is rampant, or violence is good, protesting along with rioting is effective. It's just not effective. In fact, rioting will cause a boomerang effect. It will cause resentment of the cause. So if you're really true to a cause, don't do it with violence, don't do it with mayhem and disruption, but do it with some cerebral thinking and strategy, where you're going to make a good change. I saw something the other day about college football that it just blew me away, where a professor said, America needs college football. Then he turned around and said, no, it doesn't need college football because it's taking advantage of men. And of course, it turned racist when he said black men, but men are getting hurt for my enjoyment. Well, that's not true. I played a lot of football, and my dad was a professional football player.
You did. You actually grew up in the stadiums, traveling the country with your dad, yeah.
And my brother played college, but we don't play for the enjoyment of other men. We play because we
for your own enjoyment, because you love the game. Yeah,
we love the game, and in a lot of cases, if you're good enough, you benefit from the financial features of the game. I don't care if you don't make it in the pros, but gosh, if you get a scholarship,
just getting the scholarship covered at a great school. Look, I mean, you're
$70,000 a year at USC now. So, that's real money. Where are you gonna come up with $70,000 if you're from a middle-class family?
It's an awful lot of money, yeah.
Many don't even make $70,000 total in the whole household. So
a lot of American families, Mitch, you and I, we've been in the industry for years, for decades now. And we both know that while we have some very successful, families and folks out there who accumulated millions or tens of millions of dollars in their retirement portfolios, there is plenty of families that don't have more than, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in their retirement accounts because of different things they had to deal with throughout their life, raising kids, paying for their parents, medical care, and whatever else comes in between. So, getting the scholarship, as you pointed, by just playing college and really doing the fun stuff that you have been dreaming about pretty much all your life up until then, it's just a great opportunity for many, many good Americans to exercise.
And I think that in the long run, the media is dumbing down achievement. They're almost suppressing it, like it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, because it matters to you as the individual. That's where you get part of your soul from. And then, you should transition into helping others once you feel like you've been able to establish a base. To be a constant volunteer and a constant giver, it's great. I've been there, but it can be very, very draining. You need balance. You need to balance out for yourself, for the people around you. Then when you want to be, more charitable and give and use philanthropy, that's great, but don't do it at the expense of your own mental health, really. But I think that on the media, back on the media, I don't, it's basically malpractice today. And in some cases it's propaganda. Other cases, it's just not safe. It's making us sick and giving us an attitude where we become defeatists. So we need to hold some of these people accountable. I'm kind of wondering why journalists who work for a newspaper or a television station or whatever, why they don't have to have a license or pass a test like
So
we
they could
do.
be held accountable because what they do is, in a lot of cases, in my opinion, and again, millions of Americans, they will agree with me, and you expand on that point very extensively in your book, Mitch. It's a 100% proof, malpractice where the facts are not just being twisted, but lies deliberately being fed to the American public, and unfortunately, it goes unpunished. Those people, as professionals, they need to be held accountable.
And I can't leave your show without saying one thing. The media took, I know because I was very well versed in the Russian history and the Soviet Union, and it hasn't changed all that much. And I've studied Vladimir Putin, and I can tell you, anybody who ever thought that Putin would want Trump to be the president just doesn't understand anything about our two countries, because everything.
Yeah, the whole platform of that statement is absolutely obscene, and I would like you to expand on why it is absolutely not true.
Well, we started off talking about oil and gas a little bit. That's their number one commodity. If they don't have higher prices,
They're dead in the water.
they're in big trouble. Well, what did Trump say his whole campaign speeches?
Energy
I'm not talking
independence.
about after he was president. I'm talking about before. I'm going to drill, baby, drill. I want to drill on government lands. I want to bring back fracking. I want to do everything I can to help producers produce more oil. Well, producing more oil and gas means that prices go down, and we are energy independent. The second thing he said, which would have made Putin shudder in his boots, is, oh, I'm going to build up the military. Well, that costs money, a lot of money. Russia doesn't have that kind of money. So that's what Ronald Reagan did to Russia. That's how Ronald Reagan pretty much dissected the Soviet Union.
Absolutely. They had to pull out from a
They couldn't hold together that empire and keep up militarily. Yep. So now we have Trump saying, hey, here's $1 trillion that I want to do. So that would be the second. Well, both first and second are kind of tied. But the third, and a lot of people didn't focus on this as much, is building the wall. So they think, well, building the wall is racist because we're keeping people out. Well, let me tell you.
Mexico has the wall, the huge wall along the southern border. And that should speak volumes to those naysayers of why we cannot have or should not have the wall on the southern border of the U.S. along the Mexican state.
But what Putin knows is the Department of Homeland Security has a larger budget than the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and a reconnaissance office, which is all your spy satellites together. So when you have
that's a fascinating fact that I'm sure most of the people are absolutely clueless about.
Well, they can look it up. There's Jane's defense book. There's books you can look up and see.
It's all well documented.
Yes, you can see what we're spending on certain government budgets, government accounting office.
Yep.
But so when that wall is more porous, it costs so much money to track a terrorism group that comes across, or a cell, much more money than it would to build 10 miles of wall or whatever. So Putin knew that. Putin knew that Hillary didn't want to have a wall at all, and bring in 765,000 Syrians from day one, which would have been laced with, Al-Qaeda, at a minimum, ISIS, and everybody else. So
right.
Those were three Three biggies. The fourth, of course, is trade. When he heard that Trump was going to make new trade deals, that would also hurt Russia very much too.
Absolutely, Mitch. And those things that you just pointed out, as far as the Trump, Putin, facts, I mean, they're very extensively covered in your previous book that I hope our audience will also look up. As far as the media malpractice, this is what it looks like. I'm a happy and proud owner. It's a fascinating, fascinating book. I feel very strongly that any American who cares about today and more importantly about the future of this great country, they should definitely get it and read it very, very thoroughly, and hopefully have their kids, read it as well. I just wish it was a mandatory kind of reading in our schools, as opposed to a lot of communist / socialist propaganda that has been polluting minds of millions of students across the nation over the last quite a few years.
And I'm proud to say that I have a foreword from Gene Panasenko in the book, and that's why you really need to pick this copy up.
It's been truly an honor. I was very, very, very surprised, to say the least, Mitch, when you got in touch with me offering this incredible opportunity, because again, I know you have thousands and tens of thousands of very qualified folks out there to write the same thing. But again, it was my honor, my privilege. And I do appreciate your getting on the show today. I know your schedule is ultra packed, with multitude of different meetings and events and travels. So again, thank you very much for coming and sharing your insight and expertise. All right. I do hope that we're going to be able to get you on the show, sometime down the line, as well as a follow-up, as a sequel. All right.
Yes. Thank you so much, Gene.
Thank you very much. Stay well. And I do hope to see you next time when you're visiting New York. All right.
You can count on it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Stay well. God bless. Bye-bye.